As an amateur coder, I've had many bad experiences trying to learn from tutorials. And as a teacher, I think I know why. So here's some thoughts on how to or how not to teach coding.
Okay, you want to learn how to open a text file? Well, let's create a new project with a button and a blue background that reminds us of the ocean and whales and the...
As a language teacher, I am all too familiar with the task-based learning approach. But even in the task-based learning approach, we have what we call enabling tasks, which cover the technical aspects, for example grammar, of the main task. So you don't need to make everything a project, that just wastes people's time. If you're teaching how to open a text file, well, limit your explanations to instructions needed to open a text file. Okay?
Okay, I'm going to need all these libraries, so I may as well just import them first, and in around 5 hours I'll explain why.
I know it feels more organized to do all the inputs first, but from a teaching perspective it makes much more sense to import the libraries when you actually need them. So the students can see what each of them are contributing and they don't need to be mentally going back to the beginning themselves. Okay? Exactly the same thing I said about inputs can be said about constants. Define them when you need them. Okay?
Okay, let's create a media recorder and let's name it Media Recorder, because that makes sense.
It does make sense, but when you're a beginner and you don't have a good grasp of classes and instances, that looks like you have to write the same word 3 times, one of them with a slight difference in spelling. So maybe write the initials rather than the whole word, or maybe a synonym, or if your first language is not English, as is my case, you can use a translation into your language, right? And the same thing can be said, of course, of variables that you pass as parameters, or those that you use in loops. Okay? If you have any doubts, read the documentation. I do believe it is important to encourage students to read documentation, but once again, beginners will really struggle trying to do that on their own. So the more options you can cover as part of your tutorial, the better. Okay, I'm going to give you a code and you will copy and paste it. No, wait, that's not teaching. I know, I'm going to type the code while I read it aloud and you will type it yourselves. That's still not teaching. One key difference between copying and learning is whether or not you understand what you're doing. So you need to explain why you're typing what you're typing and what options there are, what adjustments can be made to that. No one's trying to code what you're teaching. What you're teaching already exists. Everyone listening to you has the intention of using what you're teaching to do something else. And they will not be able to do that if they either don't understand or don't know what changes can be made to the code they're seeing. Okay? Of course, you cannot teach everything, so you cannot teach all the potential changes, but once again, the more options, the better. It sounds silly to say this, but it is important that people can read what you're typing. So try to favor big fonts and try not to use the part of a screen that may be covered by the progress bar. Okay? That's it. That was my small contribution to the methodology of coding teaching. I hope some of you will find it useful. Thank you for watching and see you next time.